Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
The bacteria that causes tongue poisoning is getting harder to treat. That story coming up.
Opposition leader Philip Brave Davis slams the Economic Empowerment Bill 2018.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, opposition leader Philip Davis slamming the Economic Empowerment Zone Bill 2018, insisting it's a failed attempt by the Minnis administration to revitalize the over-the-hill community. Davis telling parliamentarians the bill will do the exact opposite and further enrich the wealthy and marginalize the poor. Jasmine Brown reports.
The opposition leader was adamant as he insisted he simply cannot help a bill that does not help but hurts the poor. Davis slammed the government's over-the-hill plan during his contribution to the debate on the Economic Empowerment Zone Bill 2018, which was tabled in Parliament 2 weeks ago. It provides tax exemptions and benefits for residents and businesses in the designated zones.
This framework is guaranteed to increase property values, increase rents, and lead to higher business profitability. I repeat that. This bill, this framework is guaranteed to increase property values, increase rents, and lead to higher business profitability. In short, Mr. Speaker, this does not benefit the vulnerable. This hurts the poor.
Davis conceded that economic challenges in the over-the-hill communities is a problem that needs an urgent solution. However, he insisted the solution needs to create an environment for favorable and fair treatment. And according to Davis, the bill, which he labeled as flawed, fails to do that.
And its chief flaw is the fact that it offers no further enrichment. It offers further enrichment to the rich at the expense of the poor. That is what this is all about, Mr. Speaker, as I see it. This initiative is what I call the cart before the horse. It dangerously falls short of addressing the structural challenges plaguing the over-the-hill communities.
Davis also argued that the bill that has been highly touted by the Prime Minister lacks the necessary protections, particularly when it comes to designated special economic zones.
What the government has dubbed special economic zones will be special, in my view, special exploitation zones. So the question I ask again is, who wins? Who loses? How will this initiative improve economic and educational outcomes? How will this program, Economic Empowerment Zone program, address the urgent challenges of the lack of income, poor health, and family instability? Or this, how will this program transform communities challenged by violence and highly constrained dreams? Looking at the bill, it comes up short.
Moving forward, the opposition leader insists there needs to be a durable, long-term solution that involves a non-political approach. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Well, Speaker of the House of Assembly, Halson Moultrie, says despite a chaotic past with members of the opposition over the past year, he believes things will get better in the future. Addressing parliamentarians today, he pledged to be as impartial as possible moving forward.
And I want this Parliament and the official opposition to know that despite the, what I would call, chaotic and unfavorable weather of the past year, and maybe the tumultuous experience, that when we recess and return, this Speaker intends to be as impartial as is humanly possible.
Moultrie has not always seen eye to eye with members of the opposition. In January, he notoriously named and suspended Englerston MP Glenys Hanna-Martin after a brief showdown between the two erupted in the House. A week after he suspended the Englerston MP, Moultrie delivered a blistering attack on the opposition and on former Chief Clerk Maurice Tynes in the House of Assembly. The Speaker's comments today came after a meeting with opposition leader Philip Davis on Wednesday evening. He described those meetings as fruitful and productive.
That as a result of that meeting last night, we have arrived at a new position and a new standard to advance this Parliament and the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
And the government today entering into a $20 million loan agreement with the Inter-American Development Bank for the execution of a new initiative. Kyle Joaquin has the story.
The government enters into a $20 million loan agreement with the IDB.
There are three components funded through the loan agreement: an apprenticeship program, an initiative to promote better job matching, and the creation of labor market information systems.
According to Finance Minister Peter Turnquest, the overall objective of the loan project is to increase employability and improve access to quality jobs for Bahamians, particularly the unemployed and those leaving school. It includes training in 3 strategic sectors: maritime, medical services, ICT, and additional apprenticeship programs. The resources of the loan allocated for the apprenticeship program, $10 million.
The number of persons expected to be recruited for the advanced one-year program is 1,350. All persons selected to this program will receive a stipend.
According to Acting Country Rep for the IDB, Michael Nelson, the requirements are quite simple.
There isn't a specific technical requirement. They don't have to have a certain minimum level of education. It is just come as you are, and we'll start the process of upgrading your skill set based on each and every individual Bahamian's needs and desires.
The idea is, as the economy grows, we want Bahamians to take advantage of the opportunities here. We still approve too many labor certificates and issue too many work permits to non-Bahamians.
The Civil Works component of the initiative takes up over $5 million.
The Civil Works components of this initiative will finance the construction of a 43,500 square foot modernized building, which will serve as a one-stop shop to address all matters for job seekers.
So what makes the new $20 million loan agreement for this new skill set initiative so different from the National Training Agency set up by the previous government?
This is targeted at some specific hardcore technical vocational type skills, whereas that program is more dealing with the soft skills and the hospitality industry and that type of thing. We certainly don't intend to water that program. We want to support that. But this is looking at some specific deficiencies that we have in the country.
At the moment, government was unable to provide a date for commencement of the initiative. For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
With 27 confirmed cases of conch poisoning and another 22 awaiting laboratory confirmation, Minister of Health Dr. Dwayne Sand says they're going to be clamping down on conch vendors who can't demonstrate the presence of fresh running water at their business establishments. Jared Higgs tells us more.
As cases of conch poisoning increase, the health minister says the bacteria that causes the condition is becoming more difficult to treat as it becomes increasingly resistant to antibiotics.
We have seen increasing numbers of resistant Vibrio parahemolyticus that are not sensitive to the usual antibiotics. What that means is that those patients are harder to treat and their syndromes are more prolonged and more severe.
With the number of official cases rising and an unknown number of unreported cases, Sand says all vendors must demonstrate the presence of fresh running water at their businesses, as well as an adherence to best practices in handling raw conch.
All vendors who wish to continue with the sale of raw conch dishes such as scorched conch and conch salad may only do so if they demonstrate the presence of fresh running water linked to the city supply. So there will be inspection teams verifying that people are actually following the recommended approach to conch preparation.
Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources Michael Pintard says while they are concerned about the livelihood of fishermen, they're equally concerned about the health of Bahamians. He says an inspection of the Montague Fish Market reveals some unsavory practices that our news also noticed behind the popular restaurants at Arawak Quay.
There's also the additional problem where there's a tremendous buildup of conch shells as well as garbage in the back of the vendors. That is unacceptable. We wish for these entrepreneurs to succeed, but we want the environment within which they succeed to be transformed. We've indicated that to them. We're having a meeting this coming week with respect to that, and then we will take the necessary actions, which, if necessary, would include revoking licenses for persons who do not comply.
Now, while the Vibrio outbreak has been centralized here in New Providence, SAN says that other family islands will have to adhere to the new protocol.
Vibrio is found throughout the tropics. So we don't have any reason to expect that if Vibrio is present on Arawak Quay, which we've confirmed, on Potter's Key, which we've confirmed, that there's any reason not to believe that it's on Rose Island, on Andros, on Eleuthera, etc.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jared Higgs.
Labor Minister Dion Folk says he's doing everything he can to prevent nurses throughout the country from going on strike. According to the Nurses Union president, a strike vote was held last month where more than 360 voted to strike and 7 opposed. However, Folks today said not all members were given the opportunity to vote.
There was some concern that not all of the nurses in the country had an opportunity to vote, especially in the Family Islands. I think that's basically confirmed. I'm talking to the nurses now to see where we go from here. The end result will probably be a revote, and we'll have to go back to the polls.
The threat of industrial action comes amid a critical nurses shortage in the country and increased tension between the nurses union and government. The labor minister says there's currently a dispute over whether members on one particular island were given the opportunity to take part in the strike vote. But he says government's main goal is to ensure nurses don't go on strike.
We're doing all that we can now, the government as a whole, but specifically PHA. And the Ministry of Health, Dr. Dwayne Sands, they're actively talking to the nurses to try to see if we can resolve their concerns.
Still to come on our news, the Bahamas National Trust secures a coveted $50,000 donation, plus frustration on Fifth Terrace. That's coming up when our news returns.